Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your March 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. One of the reasons I decided to do your reading next is because I brought up my Google Doc that had all the transits on it that I had typed out. And the first thing I saw is 3-3, Mars into Gemini. And I thought, okay, because I knew I had to do Gemini. And I thought, well, that's great. So the month of March is really a good month for all of us, Gemini, because we have all the planets direct. Mercury is still in its shadow until the new moon in Pisces on the 13th. But it's moving forward. So that forward momentum is always a sign of progress. On the 3rd of the month, Mars is going into your sign. And that means if this is your rising sign, it will be going into your first house. Now, when it goes into that first house depends on your particular chart. So it's important to know, what if you're a Gemini rising and your Mars is at 14 degrees of Gemini, it's not going to go in on March 3rd. It's not going to go into that first house. It's going to stay in the 12th house until it gets to that 14-degree mark. So this is why we always say this is a general forecast. I would be happy to look at your transits for the coming year and analyze your chart. You can check my website. The link is below, rainandmoonastrology.com, if you want to pinpoint that. But even if it's still in the 12th house, and if it is in your sign, Gemini, I still believe you're going to feel a sense of being energized by this. And, those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, this is springtime. And, I'm recording this in the latter part of February when we have had in the Chicago area where I live, we have had a lot of very cold temperatures. I mean, below zero sometimes and single digits, and this is Fahrenheit. So when you get when you get days that are in the 6 degrees or something as the high, when it's in the 20s, you feel like it's springtime. And so how do we feel during that time? We feel like a rebirth. You are the first air sign, Gemini. So you are a youthful sign. You're the sign of youth. And you're the sign of, I would say, the late spring, early summer. Even though I know that there are other people in the world that are not experiencing it, this is just how it is. I mean, the vernal equinox happens in March. So I think that Gemini people are going to feel very, a lot more energized than they have in a while. And another very, very significant part of this, Gemini, is because Aries, which is the sign that Mars rules, Mars was in Aries for a long time. That was where the retrograde happened in the latter part of 2020, and it was just in Aries for a very long time. So Aries is your 11th house, and then, of course, when it was in Taurus, it went into your 12th house. So there's a lot of this residual effect of the retrograde, and it just kind of like making it take time for it to get to your sign. Because look, we're, it's very possible to have, this is a personal planet, to have Mars and Gemini be actually close to the Gemini sun season. And look how far it is away from that. Maybe from the other direction, yeah. But that isn't why it's doing it like that. It's because it's been delayed for a very long time. So Mars in the first house can lead to a desire for physical movement. This can be your body, the first house. So you may just feel like restless, like you want to exercise, and it might not be a formal exercise program. You may just start walking a lot, and that's why I'm bringing the seasons into it, because in the southern hemisphere, like down under Australia and New Zealand, etc., you guys down there are going to have autumn. And that is, of course, a season. I don't know what it's like in Australia. I'm sure that there are different, topographical, is that what you'd call it? There's different types of weather patterns, but I can only go by where I live, and we have 4 distinct seasons. And if you actually have an autumn, then that is a time when it can still be temperate, but it is coming from the summer and the spring. So you're already having warm weather. So, the people in the northern hemisphere, it's like something they haven't experienced. They might have been in hibernation for a while. Some people will not go outside unless it's, the perfect temperature, like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. And I'm not like that. So, I just always shake my head because, I don't drive. So I am out like when it's 5 above. That's how I, get around. So if you're somebody who has been hibernating, this may be a time that you're starting to really go and do stuff. And on the third, and it's also very good for people who are trying to lose weight, because you just are. You're not going to have to fight with yourself about it. You're going to want to do it on your own. And I think a lot of Geminis, especially if you have Gemini rising, you may be just like naturally very thin and naturally very like restless, maybe ADHD, where you're just constantly like you can't sit still. I don't know, but this is going to certainly make you be very energized. On the 13th, we have a new moon at 23 degrees of Pisces. This is what I was talking about when I was saying, about the Mercury going out of its shadow. When I found that out, I was like, great, because I felt like I can connect it to that, because the Mercury retrograde is, even though Mercury is direct, the fact that it's coming out of its shadow means that whole period that for me was difficult. I don't know about you. And I'm saying it in the past tense, even though it's in the present tense. I feel like it's turning over a new leaf, given the fact that it's right before meteorological, or what is it called, or the astrological new year of the sun going into Pisces, or sun going into Aries, and that's on the 20th. So this is exactly a week before that, and that is the beginning of the overall. That's the universal chart beginning. So that has a significance, even for those people who are looking for times to begin certain projects. I have heard other astrologers and other people talk about, creating vision boards during this time. So, during the astrological new year. But, obviously whatever works for you. If you're listening for your sun sign, if you have your sun in Gemini, it would behoove you to find out what your rising sign is, so that you know where this is falling in your natal chart, because I'm talking about this new moon in Pisces, because it can give you a whole new can of worms to deal with, and a lot of astrologers will say that your rising sign, your natal chart, is more in alignment with trying to find these mundane, for these mundane predictions to materialize. So check that out. But in general, Pisces is the fourth house. No, for you, it's actually the 10th house of career. And so that is a very public place. That is a place, Gemini, that is dealing with your reputation, your status in the world. And a new moon here could be about perhaps going in a new direction with the things that you want to do with your career. So something could come about that is opening new doors for new career paths, or maybe within the career that you have right now for new opportunities. On the 15th, you have Mercury going into Pisces. So there's more of this career mojo. Now, Mercury was in Aquarius in the retrograde, and that is your ninth house. And that's a loaded house for you, Gemini. I mean, this is a very busy place for you as I record this in February, but it will still be active in March because you're going to have Venus and, let's see, not Venus, I mean Jupiter and Saturn are going to be in there for the rest of the year. Jupiter a little bit, flirting with your career sector, which is good, But so that ninth house, which is a trine to you because, you're talking about a fellow air sign with Aquarius. I've already done videos on that, so you can check that out, like for Jupiter and Saturn, what that's going to mean. You can just type it into my channel if you don't have another way of doing it. And this is just a very philosophical place, the ninth house. It's a lucky place, but if you had a Mercury retrograde in that house, you might have been rethinking your life philosophy. Now, why is that relevant to career matters? Well, I think that Gemini people, like Sag, who is a ruler of that ninth house, value freedom. And if you have some kind of thing going on where you have a lot of career success, because remember that the North Node is also transiting through your sign. So that's the first house of the self. So you have this happening. I think that I would make a connection between these two things, because developing yourself when you have the North Node is very much featured during this year with the North Node still in that sign. And things can come up for somebody when the North Node is in their sign that are meant for the advancement of you as an individual. However, does the career support you as an individual is the real question. And if it doesn't, then you might feel this sense of it being in conflict with your philosophy of what the meaning of life is at this point in your journey. So sometimes these things can kind of tug at somebody's, I wouldn't call it conscience, but something that is going on with them. And so Mercury is going into that 10th house. You may be on the 15th. You may be speaking to higher ups, people in positions of authority. This is only 2 days after that new moon in that sector. So that might be a further indication of some kind of developments with some career. So especially if you've been unemployed or unhappy with the place where you're at right now, you might be taking other interviews or talking to other people. On the 20th, the sun goes into Aries. That's the astrological new year. And for Gemini, this is the 11th house of hopes and wishes. So even if you don't really believe in some of these transits, this is not like a new moon or anything, although in a sense it is, because it is the beginning of a new cycle. So we can look at it on that level. But even if you don't really resonate with that, and I don't know why you would be listening to astrology, but you may have other reasons why you're interested in astrology. Even symbolically, that can be a way to not force yourself, but to inspire yourself to maybe like be very intentional about what it is that you want, and hence the idea of a vision board, because that can be an activity where you and maybe some of your friends, if you invite them over, can cut out pictures, things that you want to manifest. As I have stated over and over again, I just don't see it. I think I'd have to create an electronic version, maybe on Pinterest, because I don't have magazines at my disposal, and I'm surprised that anybody does in 2021. But I would love to if I could get the pictures that I want. So if you have any brilliant ideas on that, please drop them below. On the 21st, Venus goes into Aries. Well, what I'm trying to say is the house, when the sun goes into Aries, that is your house of hopes and wishes, the 11th house. Also, this is a very social house. It's a house of friendships and groups. So you have the sun going there on that astrological new year on the 20th, and then the very next day, Venus goes into that house. Now, that could be finding love through your circle of friends. That could be making money from friends. So if you've launched a business, and March is an awesome time to launch a business, especially in the second half, you might be already starting to reap the rewards from that. On the 20th, you might just be having like really positive vibes with friends, like you're really harmonizing with them. On the 28th, there's a full moon at 8 degrees of Libra. So there's another air energy, Gemini. Now that is going on the other side, which is your 5th house of romance, a full moon here. Well, for some of you, it's actually going to be in the 4th house, a lot of you, because for 0 to 8 degrees of Gemini, this will likely be in your whatchamacallit, 5th house of romance and creativity. So it's a very fertile time creatively. And if you are interested in somebody, this can be a time when it really takes off. If you are, thinking of somebody in particular that you have a sense of rapport, you may realize that there's somebody that is really somebody that you should pay attention to, because they are a good match for you. Maybe it's somebody that you kind of wrote off, or you just didn't even think about them being relationship material. Now, this is not the house of relationships. I just want to clarify that. That would be the 7th house. But in the 5th house, it is getting the ball rolling. And a full moon can either, in some cases, end some sort of maybe casual dating of somebody, or it can bring matters to a fruition. So somebody is dating and they enjoy this person, but they feel like they can't really relax until that person has made a commitment to them, which is what the 7th house represents. So it could be, a little bit like impatient, I wouldn't say impatient, just making you aware that this is the person that, even though it might not be your physical type or something like that, but you really feel like this may be the one. And what was I going to say? I can't remember. Oh, I was going to say if you are born from 9 to 29 degrees of Gemini, this will likely fall in your fourth house of home and family. And that can be much more emotional, psychological, dealing with the past, maybe letting go of something from the past. Perhaps it's some kind of idealistic notion about your childhood or about your family of origin, your parents, that, kept you hooked into them, even as an adult. And you may see like, oh yeah, I need to stop doing this, I need to stop doing that. So anyway, Gemini, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoy this. And if you would like a private reading, to look at 2021, analyzing your chart, I have different readings. I have a couple of combinations or extended readings that are special price. And the link is below. I'm at RainaMoonAstrology.com. Take care. Bye.